Picture the life you've been living as a relentless translation device. You walk into every room with a headset and a tour pointer, and before anyone asks, you start narrating your inner world in subtitles. Here's what I meant. Here's why I did it. Here's the backstory that will convince you I deserve ease. You built a museum of your character, exhibits labeled context, intention, goodness, and you give tours for free, even on your days off. Tonight, the guide goes home. The museum lights click off. The headphones stop humming. You stop explaining yourself. Listen to the sudden acoustics when silence enters a room that's used to your running commentary. People reach for the old buttons and realize the machine only ran because you kept turning the crank. The air grows heavy, aware it's not rudeness. It's physics, the center of gravity moving back where it belongs. Carl Jung would say what you're feeling is not a mood, but a movement, the self reclaiming the microphone from the persona. Individuation rarely begins with fireworks. It begins when you refuse to keep auditioning for permission to exist. Why you learn to explain on command. Nobody wakes up and decides to become a full-time translator of their soul. You learned it like a dialect to survive. Early on you noticed a pattern. Access equals safety. Be reachable, be agreeable, be helpful, be quick. The room stays warm. Explanations were your coins. You slid them into the slot and the machine kept purring. When tension rose, your body learned the fawn switch, flood the space with context, soften the edges, overshare the map. You could feel the temperature change when your voice filled the air. Maybe you had a parent who interrogated feelings like cross-examinations, so you pre-defended to avoid the verdict. Maybe you had a teacher who rewarded essays over boundaries, so you learned to win with words. Maybe you became the family interpreter, smoothing conflict with backstory. It worked. Until it didn't. Jung called our public interface the persona, useful as a mask, lethal as a face. The explaining persona is polite, fluent, and endlessly available. It nods yes while your truth shakes its head no. It apologizes for boundaries you shouldn't have to litigate. It turns every living room into a courtroom and offers your biography as Exhibit A. Underneath the polish, old programs snap awake. Jung's word for them was complexes. Clusters of charged memory that hijack perception and behavior. The approval complex treats a raised eyebrow like a klaxon. The competence complex demands you pre-defend a Tuesday calendar as if you were presenting a thesis. The abandonment complex turns a delayed reply into proof you'll be left unless you cling or cut off first. These routines move faster than thought. Someone says, "We need to talk," and your history is already speaking for you. The hidden economy of explanation. Explanations feel generous. They also signal to the world that your identity is negotiable. If your essence can be haggled for with enough backstory, people, without malice, often without awareness, learn to press for more, not because they are villains. Because you trained the room that debates about your worth are welcome here. The economy looks like this. Your time becomes public currency. Anyone can spend it by insisting we clear this up. Your nervous system becomes public infrastructure. Others plug into your calm to regulate their storms. Your presence becomes a utility, always on, always warm, always ready to explain why it's okay to keep you plugged in. You are rewarded with temporary permission. You are billed with permanent depletion. The invoice shows up at 2 a.m. when your mind runs courts that never close. It arrives when you draft paragraphs to justify a basic boundary. It arrives when you hand over your schedule, your sleep, your center, to purchase a feeling you could have given yourself with one dignified sentence. What really happens when you stop explaining, you will feel guilty. Expect it. Guilt is how your nervous system says, but that's not how we've survived. It is not guidance. You will see irritation, raised eyebrows, wounded tones. Expect it. Irritation is the sound of a shortcut closing. Don't confuse turbulence for a wrong turn. Any habit ending has withdrawal. The room will run its hands along the wall, searching for the light switch that used to be you. Some people will escalate. Chaos might be the only dialect they've learned. Some will settle, surprised to discover how quickly they come to equilibrium when your nervous system isn't propping theirs up. Neither reaction is your responsibility. Your responsibility is to keep the gate. The gate is the moment you stop entering false courts. You know those rooms. The ones where the topic isn't a concrete behavior, but your character on trial. If you cared, you'd explain. A good person would answer immediately. If you were responsible, you'd justify that choice. These are not invitations. They are frames designed to keep you defending your existence. Sovereignty declines those invitations, not to dodge responsibility, but to move the conversation into the only arena where truth can operate. Reality. Reality sounds like this. Here's what happened. Here was the impact. Here is repair. Reality doesn't need your childhood, your autobiography, or your spotless intentions. It needs your clarity and your follow-through. The surge and the third option. Let's be honest about why this is hard. Most explanations aren't strategies, they're surges. A chemical wave rises in your body and your mouth obeys it. Jaw clenches, throat tightens, chest heaves, words arrive like water trying to put out a fire. There is a small door in that moment. If you can find the handle, everything changes. Name it with the simplest language. There is the urge to defend. There is the urge to please. There is the urge to run. Don't narrate. Naming frames without feeding. Then look for where it lives. Is it jaw, throat? Breathe into the exact place your body believes the emergency lives. Slow, twice as long out as in. You are now practicing what Jung called holding the tension of opposites. Fix versus flee, fight vs fold. Instead of reacting into either pole, you hold. Hold one heartbeat longer than you usually do. In that micro-stillness, a third option appears, the transcendent function. It's not mystical, it's practical. Instead of a speech, one sentence that closes the loop. Instead of a defense, one decision you can live by. Instead of a performance, presence anchored in action. Examples: not tonight, tomorrow at 9. We can talk about the behavior. I won't debate my character. Here's what I can do. Then do exactly that. Notice what's missing. The museum tour, no exhibits, no gift shop, no receipts. The boundary is not a soliloquy. It is a design you live by. Language that doesn't leak. People crave scripts. Scripts can help, but they can also become new armor. Heavy, loud, and full of rattling clauses you don't believe. Better than scripts are stances. Think of a stance as a posture that makes your words shorter and your life clearer. Timing stance. Urgency is not a deity. You move at a human pace. When somebody demands instant answers, you install a pause and make the decision on the other side of oxygen. Topic stance. Behavior and repair are discussable. Essence is not on trial. You decline identity courts and bring the focus back to observable reality. Access stance. Your availability is deliberate, not default. Your attention is not a light switch for other people's mood lighting. Energy stance. Reciprocity is the ecology. If investment returns manipulation, fog, or chaos, exposure drops. Not cruelty. Conservation. From these stances, even the simplest lines carry enormous weight. I'll respond tomorrow. I'm not available for this frame. If you have a specific example, name it. If someone demands your autobiography to accept one of those sentences, you're not in a conversation, you're at an audition. You don't need to show up. Accountability minus theater. Stopping the habit of explanation is not permission to avoid responsibility. On the contrary, it makes responsibility clean for the first time. Explanation tries to purchase permission to be human. Accountability names what happened, owns your part, makes repair, and honors the boundary that prevents a repeat. A sturdy spine sounds like, here's what happened, here's my part, here's what I'll do, full stop. If the room keeps asking for your motives, resist the museum tour. Let your repair be the exhibit, let time curate the proof. The detox corridor. When you stop renting out your center, the first reward is not applause. It's quiet that will make you doubt yourself. The phone sits heavy and still. The calendar has space. You hear your inner critic louder because activity used to drown it out. You will be tempted to relight the old fire. Send the long text, make the late night call, perform the old ritual of context. This is detox. Do not mistake discomfort for misalignment. Jung observed that to hear the self, you often need distance from the collective's noise, not exile. Corridor. In that corridor, a few discoveries arrive. Your body learns what it feels like unbraced. Shoulders lower without permission. Breath lengthens without instruction. Your preferences come back like birds finding last year's nest. They were never gone, only drowned. You see who loved you best when you were exhausted. Bless them. Then decline the old contract anyway. You will lose some people who only recognized you by the role you played. Let them be confused somewhere else. You will grieve versions of yourself that were loved for usefulness. Grieve, bless, bury. What rises is not colder, it's truer. Why explaining tasted good and why it's time to stop. There is a clean reason you explain. You want to be understood. There is also a shadow reason. Explanation is a way to control the temperature of the room. If I can narrate enough, I can manage your reaction. If I can dazzle the jury, I can avoid the verdict I fear. If I can keep talking, maybe you won't leave. Make the shadow conscious. Write the sentence you'd rather avoid. I explain so I won't be abandoned. I explain because being liked feels like oxygen. I explain because I don't trust calm unless I'm actively engineering it. Then meet the need honestly. If it's reassurance, ask for it directly from people qualified to give it. I'm feeling wobbly. Can you remind me what's true? If it's control, build structure in your own life so you can stop micromanaging other people's weather. Clean routines, clear calendars, simple systems that let you sleep. If it's belonging, choose fewer rooms and become real in them. Be present instead of performing. When you own the shadow, manipulators lose leverage. There is nothing left for them to hold on to. Architecture beats argument. Most of the noise that tempts you into performance is solvable by design, not debate. Rearrange the room and the old ritual loses its stage. Time. Install buffers by default. Emails respond in windows. Messages queue. Calls return after a pause. Your answer lives on the other side of oxygen. You practice sentences like, I don't decide inside a surge, not as slogans, but as architecture for how you move. Access. Put hinges back on doors. Devices sleep in another room. Notifications bad. You go looking for requests instead of letting requests go fishing for you. People learn that you are not a vending machine. You're a person with hours. Topic. Gate every conversation. Is this about a specific event and repair? Or is this a referendum on my existence? The first passes. The second declines. You refuse to put your essence on the stand because nothing true happens in that court. Energy. Run a reciprocity ledger without resentment. Investment must return respect, clarity, or peace. If not, exposure drops. Not punishment. Conservation. You stop paying invoices that chaos sent and you never owed. This is not a prison. It's a house with proper foundations. Fewer leaks, fewer alarms, fewer fires that require the old performance to extinguish. Reading the room without rescuing it. One of the scariest skills you'll learn is to sit with someone else's big emotion and resist the urge to rescue them from the growth. Their emotion is trying to deliver. Over-explainers are excellent rescuers. They sprint into other people's storms with towels, charts, and warm beverages. They leave soaked and applauded, only to find the storm returns tomorrow because the weather never learned itself. Try this instead. When a partner spirals, I can sit with you. I won't fix this for you. When a coworker erupts, let's speak when we both can hear. When a friend projects, if you mean a specific moment, name it. Hold your seat. Let their weather teach them. You will love better when your love is not a bargain struck by disappearing yourself. Micro scenes across your life. Work. Client pings at midnight. I need the edits now. The surge roars. Historically, you typed a tender essay, then stayed awake until your eyes burned. Tonight, the 9 a.m. app closed. In the morning, you deliver. Later, a colleague implies you're not a team player. If there's a metric you're using, let's look at it together. No metric, no courtroom. A meeting swerves into identity territory. You just don't care enough. Old reflex, a monologue about your dedication. New reflex, if there's a specific miss, show me. The conversation either becomes real or ends. Family, a relative at dinner. You always make things about you. The old museum opens. You breathe. If you mean a specific moment, name it. They can't or they do. Either way, we just left theater and entered reality. If they switch to volume, you switch to silence. You eat, you smile. You let the room reveal itself. Love, your partner. If you cared, you'd explain. Historically, you unspooled your life. Tonight, I care. I won't perform. I'm willing to repair what I missed. If the only request is a performance, clarity has already done the job you were using speeches for. If there's something concrete to do, you do it. Repair is action, not area. Friendship. A friend texts, "Oh wow, Must be nice to have boundaries. Old you, a gentle 5-paragraph essay. New you, it keeps me honest. Coffee Friday, the relationship adapts or reveals itself. Either way, you don't buy closeness with explanation. Online, a stranger says, you're selfish. Old you, a dissertation. New you, zero engagement. Your nervous system is not a public comment section. Your piece is not a poll. What changes inside your skin? The real proof arrives quietly. Words become fewer and heavier. You speak to be clear, not to be tolerated. Your yes stops wobbling because it isn't purchased with guilt. Your no stops inviting counteroffers because it isn't a performance. Your body believes you. Shoulders descend, jaw unhooks, breath finds its length. The courtroom in your head shuts its lamps. For the first time in years, you sleep without cross-examining yourself into the pillows. Your world recalibrates. Gossip dies near you because your attention is expensive now, and you spend it on creation, not corrosion. Your table shrinks to fewer chairs. Depth replaces variety. Loneliness loses its teeth because your company stops being an empty room. You finally show up in it. The chorus of protests and how to hear them. You've changed. Yes, so did the climate when you stopped paying the bill for someone else's weather. You're cold. No, I'm finally not for sale. You think you're better than us. I think standards are better than chaos. You owe me an explanation. I owe you my accuracy. You'll find it in my behavior. These aren't summonses. They're echoes of a contract you're done signing. Let the echo fade. The people who require you to over-explain will never be satisfied by your best arguments. They are loyal to their story, not your facts. If someone can only connect with you through your imbalance, balance will look like betrayal to them. Your favorite role, rescuer, peacemaker, reliable one, feels like love until you tally the cost and discover it was a lease with compound interest. Clarity is a kindness to everyone involved. It's the shortest path to the truth that can be acted on. Confusion loves monologues. Truth loves short sentences and visible behavior. Why this works, psychologically speaking, the nervous system learns by prediction. You have trained yours to predict that survival requires performance. Each time you choose a pause over a paragraph, you deliver a corrective prediction error. We lived, and we didn't explain. Each time you decline a false court and remain safe, your amygdala updates its map. The 90-second gate isn't spiritual branding. It's a biological window where you teach your body the difference between surge and threat. Over time, the surge still arrives, but it loses its right to drive. Relationally, systems seek equilibrium. When you stop providing the regulating function, healthier systems self-adjust, brittle ones crack. This is diagnostic information, not proof of your cruelty. You are not depriving people of love by refusing to be their machine. You are inviting them into adulthood. Kindness without self-abandonment looks stern to people raised on your exhaustion. It's not. It's the most reliable kindness you can offer. Your words match your capacities. Your boundaries are steady enough to lean on. You stop lying with your schedule and your smile. People may miss the performance. They will learn to trust the person. Another myth retired. That explanations earn intimacy. Intimacy is not the prize you win for best TED Talk about your values. It's the trust that accumulates when words and actions kiss. Some of the people who asked for your essays were chasing the feeling of connection without the cost of conduct. When you stop explaining, those connections vanish. Good. They were counterfeit. The role of silence. Silence is not a weapon. It is a room where truth becomes audible. In that room, your unconscious will speak. You'll notice the parts of you exiled to be acceptable. Anger, need, grief, the wish to be left alone. Bring them chairs. Let them finish their sentences. Then integrate them into your standards, so you stop outsourcing them to manipulators. Silence is also a teaching. It teaches the room that your nervous system is not public infrastructure. It teaches that your boundary is a door, not a debate. It teaches that conversations will be about reality, or they will end. Over time, silence becomes the bell that announces the court is closed, the workshop is open. The last museum you will ever close. There is a reason your old life felt like a tour. It was curated to make you acceptable. You can keep curating for guests, or you can live in the house. Houses are messier. They are truer. They aren't designed to be explained. They're designed to be inhabited. So take down the placards. Turn off the audio guide. Keep one gallery, proof. In it, hang small, heavy things, promises you kept, repairs you made, boundaries that held, standards you stood on. No captions. The people who are meant to be here will know what they're looking at. One story, many rooms. Imagine you are a house with 4 rooms that matter: work, love, friendship, self. In each room you remove one piece of furniture, the lectern, the place where you stood and made speeches about who you are and why you deserve to be here. Without the lectern, you can't grandstand anymore. You have to live. In work, you become reliable, not available. In love, you practice repair, not performance. In friendship, you prefer presence over explanation. In self, you stop writing essays to prove you have a right to rest. What people feel when you walk in now is a weight that wasn't there before. Not the weight of fear, the weight of standard. A closing nobody argues with. There will always be people who confuse quiet with guilt and boundaries with cruelty. You can spend the rest of your life converting them. Or you can let your life be the proof. No more museum tours of your virtue. No more emergency levers wired to your chest. No more weather reports explaining your climate to people who bring their own storms. You do not owe the world a transcript. You owe it your accuracy. So when the next summons arrives, explain yourself. You have options your old life hid from you. You can breathe until the wave stops asking for your mouth. You can choose the sentence over the speech. You can walk past the courtroom and into the workshop where your life is built in oak and brass instead of adjectives. You can decline the frame and escort the conversation into reality. You can love without rescuing, repair without theater, and rest without permission. If this met you at the right time, don't prove it with a paragraph. Prove it with the next hour. Answer one demand with a breath. Replace one essay with one line. Do one small thing exactly as promised. Let one silence speak for you. Then notice who respects your pause and who panics when you don't perform. Notice which relationships got cleaner when your sentences got shorter. Notice how your body, finally, believes that you will protect it. You don't have to be louder to be undeniable. You only have to be truer than your need to be understood.